Lazy React channels. You just sit there saying nothing to your community while you eat your lunch in silence, playing out the whole video to your audience of 40,000. I think most of us would agree that this is lazy content, but this one YouTuber took it way too far. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I am not a drama channel, but here I am. I'm here to take advantage of this finite pool of impressions and deliver facts and logic. I'm not talking about this because it's drama. I'm talking about this because it covers a topic that I'm pretty passionate about. You might have seen the streamer community in a stir these past few days, a bit of a controversy stinking up your timeline and YouTube feed, or you are completely clueless and are wondering what the heck is going on. All right, ready for the cliff notes? I'm here to deliver it in this many minutes. Let's go. MoistCritical, Pokimane, XQC, 𝐜𝐭𝐡 are huge streamers on Twitch with tens of thousands of concurrent viewers every time they go live. They will either play games on stream or react to YouTube videos live with their audience. Recently, Pokimane and 𝐜𝐭𝐡 pushed the narrative of the ongoing DMCA saga, a copyright law written before the internet was the internet by a bunch of old white guys probably sitting around a table wondering how they can make the most money off of copyright. And Poki and Toast purposefully streamed anime to their thousands of viewers that was purposefully behind a paywall, which is indubitably illegal. They were both temporarily banned by Twitch. Lots of discourse around this subject started to arise on the internet, which is partially what they wanted. Some people were so mad, like Australian GTA YouTuber DarkViperAU, and he wrote a 14-page manifesto to which he reminds you about 42 times in his angry response video to Critical.
14 pages! On page 14. It's 14 pages long. That's a 14-page...
DarkViperAU posted his unfinished video script in a tweet with the caption, "All reactors are bad people. They exploit others to benefit no one but themselves. Collectively, they have stolen millions of dollars from actual creators and have stopped countless thousands from having a career," which is implying not only that they are small creators, that they are stopping from having a career, but they are actively stealing views, impressions, and etc. from them. Being a small creator, I have thoughts on this in a little bit. This essay got loads of negative feedback for awful, inaccurate, inconsistent points, and also naming streamers by name, comparing React streamers to sexual assaulters, and something comparing it to slavery. Rightfully upset because he is mentioned by name, Critical makes a video going over DarkViper's unhinged document, talking about how many of DarkViper's points are inaccurate and just flat out wrong, while agreeing that some forms of React content can be lazy, as I'm sure most of us can agree with. Critical even admitting himself sometimes he is reacting to content lazily, to which he won't then upload that content to YouTube to make money off of it. DarkViper responds to Critical's video with a video that is way too long, ironically making a reaction video, that's interesting, talking in circles saying that Critical was purposefully misrepresenting his 14-page manifesto, even though he was directly quoting what DarkViper said in the essay and doubling down on Twitter. There was no context forgoed here. It was not taken out of context. I looked for myself. Maybe, just maybe, your essay was poorly written, and everyone misunderstood it because it was poorly written. Critical responds to DarkViper's long-ass response video, saying that he agrees that he misunderstood some of the points DarkViper explained lazily in his essay, leaving the viewer to have to make things up in their head in order to try to understand what DarkViper's trying to say. But Critical doubles down that the argument that watching content that isn't yours on stream means it is a misunderstanding of you don't want to ask for consent, therefore you are akin to someone who would sexually assault someone, which is verbatim what you said. You can't say I never said that because you did.
Let's see how many of these words are actually in this document. Sexual, no. How about use? Oh, we got reported at the top here. How about criminal? No. How about predator? No, not that either. How about rapist? No. It's almost like Charlie is making up, and I don't understand why.
Critical ends his video amicably, but being honest about where he got things wrong. Finally, Dark Viper ended this saga with his final video, which is a bit shorter, thank God. And I want to watch this last video with you guys, as basically every sentence he says, I still disagree with, and that's coming from the exact type of creator that would be benefiting from React content being gone from the platform. So that's the TLDR of what's going on. It's basically a question and argument of React streamers, of how if they were gone, the impressions would go to other channels, which is true, but it's not true to the fact that Dark Viper argues in his essay that those views and impressions would have gone to people who would be able to start a career from those impressions. This is wrong for many number of reasons. The viewer can just leave the platform once Danny Gonzalez is gone, not reacting to things anymore. They would go watch Netflix or something. And also I think Ethan Klein brought up a good point that actually larger creators create more impressions because people like their content and are binging their content more. There are more opportunities for impressions the more videos that people watch on YouTube, arguably from larger creators. And those recommendations will recommend similar content or content they think you'd be interested based on what you're watching so far. Like, I'm sorry, I would have never clicked on the ass movie Curtis Connor was reacting to in his video had I not seen Curtis Connor's reaction video about it. I would not have clicked on that video. To me, this whole argument about stealing views is the dumbest thing I have ever heard in my life, because it's the same argument that people made about titty streamers on Twitch. I'm sorry, if they weren't watching Amaranth, they wouldn't be watching you, Dark Viper. They would go to porn. Or they're going to find someone else who's going to provide that same content that they find valuable to themselves. They're not going to go watch some obscure hot dog making channel now that Amaranth is gone, and those impressions could go to someone who you think deserves it. Which is partially what Dark Viper says in his essay, which is how many pages?
But I did write a 14-page script explaining it's a 14-page document. You against a 14-page meticulously written page. It's 14-page.
That it would only benefit those original content creators, which is just not true. There's also the idea of consenting to having your video be reacted to, which again is a moot point and is a terrible one at that. Because if we had to ask permission to react to people's videos, and like Ethan said in his video, it is free speech, it just doesn't make any sense. Can you imagine if you had to ask permission from like this stupid alpha male podcast to react to their content and shit on it? No, they're gonna say no, obviously, and then those people who don't know any better are gonna fall into their stupid traps. Can you imagine if we had to ask permission to roast Rice Gum on that controversy? Asking for permission to react to your content is a stupid idea. It prevents people from calling out behavior that is stupid and wrong, and things we need to raise awareness on. If you can't freely go, hey, that guy's content is shit and it's dangerous, what kind of a place would the world be right now? This goes beyond your limited view of reacting to random TikToks on stream. This is a dangerous idea, and it's a stupid one at that. And to compare this idea of not asking for consent to react to content to the type of person who would sexually abuse someone is disgusting. And in both of Dark Viper's response videos and on Twitter, he doubles down that this analogy is okay, that it's a good analogy, and it makes sense. Reacting to content and saying something is bad, exercising your free speech, is not the same as abusing someone and attacking someone's body against their will. Have you been sexually abused? Because if you have, you wouldn't be saying that. It is such an embarrassment and disgusting to actual abuse survivors who have read your document. It is harmful and nasty and disgusting, and I can't believe you'd make such a terrible analogy. Even if your hyperbole made any sense at all, it is still an awful one. Why don't you compare it to something that actually makes some sense? Like, oh, I didn't consent for you to put $200 in my mailbox against my will. That at least makes a little more sense on the basis of getting something without consent. One of Dark Viper's last points is that React content is killing smaller channels, doesn't help them at all, and prevents thousands of channels from having a career. In his words, I'm not making this shit up. And there's a stupid comparison in his essay about the time of labor the original content creator took to create their piece of work that is being reacted to by someone who is lazily sitting there taking much less time to react to that work and upload it as original content. And therefore, since the reactor took less time to react to the content to where the original content took longer to make, and that reactor is stealing views from the original content, which is not true. This whole idea ties back to something that I have experienced in working in freelance, is that we usually charge by project basis and not hourly. And do you know why? Because if you've gone to school for 10 years learning how to be a graphic designer and you start to charge hourly for something that can take you 30 minutes to do, but a less experienced designer about 5 hours to do, what are you going to do? Are you going to charge hourly so that way you can be paid less for working quicker and more efficiently? Or are you going to pay the lesser experienced graphic designer 5 times more than you because you value the time it took to create the project rather than the end result and the quality of the product that you just produced in the first place? This is why we charge on a project basis and not hourly. Because I don't care how long you took on this dumbass production, it's still a production, and people are going to criticize it. This is basically the woe is me argument. I spent so long making this video, why is no one watching it? It doesn't matter if you took 10 minutes or 10 hours on this video. If it's a video, it is a video, and people won't want to watch it. This whole mentality of that there is a finite pool of impressions for exposure is so dumb. And he says if you understand the creator market, he says this in multiple times. He says if you understand the creator market, this is how it works. That's his source. His source is literally trust me, bro. He says this in the essay, he says this in his response video, and that is not how it works. It's not how it works at all, which is so surprising to hear someone who knows so little about how YouTube works from someone who has 900,000 subscribers. It's really coming across that you have no idea how any of this works. There is this scarcity mindset in content creators, which I've worked on in therapy. There is enough room at the top. Just because your friend is blowing up doesn't mean that you won't. People aren't going to watch one video on something and then never want to watch another video on that same topic again. Why do you think commentary channels talk about the same things in trends and they all get really good views? People want to watch these people for their personalities. React content is valuable. If React content was so bad and trash and unvaluable because they spent no time on it, why are 40,000 people sitting in Pokimane stream watch stuff? Why are 70,000 people watching SQC react to a video? Why are people watching Danny Gonzalez's video on a stupid movie that he watched? People watch React content because they liked the reactor. They're not there to watch the original content you're saying through that channel. You're saying that these React channels are a one-stop shop for content, so why would they go anywhere else? That is not true, and that's not how it works. I'm there to watch Danny Gonzalez make fun of this movie. I'm not there to watch the movie through his channel. If I wanted to go watch the movie, I will go watch the movie. And chances are I wouldn't have heard of the movie if I hadn't watched his reaction video on it. The only time you could make this argument are those old channels back in the day where you'd watch some dude sitting silently watching TikToks and maybe chuckling every 3 minutes. That, I think most people would agree, is garbage content, but then again, all of this entire argument is completely subjective to the viewer and what they view as valuable as content for them. Basically, Dark Viper's last response video is just him doubling down on all the takes that he has in this essay and in his other response video. So by watching this shorter one with me, you'll have gotten everything that he has to say. So let's watch this together. I'm sorry if that first part was a little random and kind of all over the place. I have ADHD, so that's just how it is. And just quickly before I start this video, I am a small creator and I've literally only seen benefit from other people reacting to my content. This is just me personally. I understand some people might not want their content reacted to by bigger streamers, but I personally don't care. I see it as a net positive. I've had Critical react to my video before. I'm the female MoistCr1TiKaL. It's me, everybody. And I've literally only seen a wholesome net positive from his community. I've had Join In react to my channel, and people have checked out my channel because of these people. They weren't watching my content through them and then were like, yeah, I've seen everything I needed to see. I'm gonna go now. And if they did that, then they were just there for Join In. They were just there for Critical. I understand that. They probably wouldn't have watched my video or clicked on it in the first place. This is just an entire whole new world that you've created about the YouTube narrative in your head that doesn't exist and doesn't make sense.
So recently, Hassan Piker said many frankly horrible things on his stream, highlighting that he feels entitled to use any other person's labor exclusively for his own profit and without their consent. I found this frankly humorous coming from a socialist, given that socialism is directly opposed to such ideas, believing bare minimum that profit should be shared among the workers and workers should have a say over who can profit from their labor. The reason there are references to capitalism and spiking people's drinks in that script was originally because they related to particular things Hassan said in his stream, explaining the flaws in his reasoning. However, I wanted to be general, so I scrubbed specific references to Hassan from the
Why did you want to be general when you were criticizing specifically Hassan? If you wanted to criticize Hassan, name Hassan and point out exactly the things that he did. If you wanted to be more general, then you could apply the logic you apply to Hassan and say that some streamers think like this. You can't just make blanket statements. And he doesn't even say that he's wrong about this. He's like, I just wanted to be more general.
And reference a group of people whenever I felt it necessary to highlight the sort of creator or content I was referring to. In the 14 pages, I referenced that group of content creators 3 times.
Just because you wrote something that you spent a lot of time on and it's 14 pages doesn't mean it's good. It feels like this is tying back to what he said earlier about the time of labor and the quality of work. The two are not the same. The more time you spend on something doesn't mean it's gonna come out good and that you should die on a hill for it.
So why was I mad in my response to 𝐜𝐿's video? I wrote a script arguing that reactors are exploiting the labor of original content creators, and what benefit reactors claim to give to others is ultimately illusory. While some individual content creators benefit, as a whole, original content creators are worse off, and I consider this an indisputable fact given the nature of how the online content creator marketplace works.
Do I have to explain how wrong this is? Source. This is how the marketplace works. Source. Me. Where are you getting this from? Original content creators are worse off? How? How? Please tell me how. I would love to see some documentation on how if 𝐜𝐿 reacts to your video's never gonna blow up now. Are you kidding me? Do you know how the online creator marketplace works? Once again, you have almost 1 million subscribers and are so dense about all the criticism that you've received, a lot of it being constructive. I've seen it. If 𝐜𝐿 watches Mr. Hot Dog making video and reacts to it on stream, cuts that up and uploads it to his YouTube channel. Do you know what's going to be suggested in the suggested bar? What's going to be next to that video? I recommend that you pay attention next time because I guarantee you one of those suggestions is going to be the Mr. Hot Dog Man, the Mr. Sausage Making Man channel. I've seen it. I don't know how you are purposefully misrepresenting this concept and idea and your opinion as a fact, because it's literally not true. It's not an indisputable fact. It's your garbage take on how YouTube works. It's not true at all. I don't know how you can argue that this is true. Here, you know what? Let's try it.
I turned my astrology gift into a business.
Look, I literally disproved his point in 5 seconds. This is Charlie's reaction video to Ordinary Sausage, and look what the first recommendation is on the side. It's Ordinary Sausage, who back then, when Charlie reacted to this video, had 3,000 subscribers, to his word. That's what he said. I don't know how you're saying that these original creators are worse off. It's absurd. Unless they are just straight ripping and re-uploading the content, they are not worse off, I promise.
𝐜𝐿's video, however, painted my impassioned writings as DarkViperAU called MoistCritical. It was the first thing he did, and he maintained this throughout. This was not the response I expected, although that is largely because I expected no response at all. I was not happy that a significant portion of the discussion around something I was very passionate about, and a script I was quite proud of, was being reduced to whether or not reactors are out there raping people.
I understand what he's trying to say, you know? He thinks that he made all these bulletproof, beautiful arguments in his 14-page manifesto, and that people are taking out this 1-2-sentence part of the entire thing and blowing it up to be the entire document. I have read it, and a lot of other people have read it and commented on this, if you even have read the criticisms, that your entire document is just wrong. If most of your document was correct and you made brilliant points, people would say that, but they didn't, because it's not good. And in this video, I already watched this 11-minute video, but in this video, he also says he thinks that the people criticizing him haven't read the document and or haven't understood it. How could you say that? First of all, you don't know that. This argument is absurd in that you're mad at me because you don't understand. How about people are mad because you made terrible points? It's such deflective behavior in this entire discourse about his essay. Maybe it's just a bad essay.
This is at best a misunderstanding of 2 lines in the whole document, and so I rightly consider this to be exceptionally uncharitable. MoistCr1TiKaL is not a bad person. He is correct to say that many of the general statements I made about reactors in regards to their motivations probably do not apply to him. This is of course the downside of speaking generally.
Then why did you speak generally, if you knew you were making a terrible generalization?
I was at the time very angry. I would hope under better circumstances I would have been willing to admit that Critical's motivations likely differ from others, rather than simply doubling down and implying everyone who does React content is the same. It would be more correct to say that all reactors are doing a bad thing, as opposed to all reactors are bad people. Less catchy though. In saying that, there is an outcry against reactors like every few years. I understand why viewers don't understand why it's harmful, but reactors probably shouldn't be continually hearing this outcry and still concluding there's nothing sus going on.
So he's partially right? There is an outcry against reactors every few years. Mostly on the front that it's lazy. The type of reaction content that is just sitting there doing and saying nothing to the video while people watch it. Yeah, I get it. You can be mad that it's lazy content, but who are you to police what people should be doing and what kind of content people should be making online? You can have your opinion on it. You can do that. But in the way that you are presenting your opinions, you're kind of presenting them like they're facts. You're saying this is how it works. They are stealing people's views. None of this is like speculation or backed up with any research. You're just saying shit. You don't have to like the content. I get it. If you don't like it, here's an idea. Don't watch it, dude. Like, I hate this whole argument that, you know, the content is lazy and we should therefore punish these creators who are doing it because it's bad and I don't like it. If there's content you don't like, guess what? Turn it the off. And if you didn't like that 𝐜𝐭 had something to say about your video on stream, don't post it. It's literally free speech. You posted something online with the intention for people to see it. They are not stealing your views. That is literally not true. They can react to your video. Whether or not you can argue fair use if they re-upload your content while saying nothing is a different story. You can copyright claim that, and a lot of people do. Ludwig showed in his video how most of his videos reacting to TikToks are demonetized because they've been claimed. And that is a completely fair thing to do, but you literally cannot prevent people from reacting to content on stream or in YouTube videos, and like almost implying that it should be illegal because there is a lack of consent. I just think it's a weird argument that doesn't really hold merit beyond the fact that you just don't like the content. Do I think that React streamers should try to add a little commentary and not just sit there silently watching the video? Absolutely. I do think it's lazy content. I agree. But the way that he presented all of his facts and logic is like Ben Shapiro. It's just full of nothing. It's full of fluff and opinions that you think is fact. And the source? This is how the content creator marketplace works. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work anything like this. So I realized I didn't provide my own source of information besides thinking logically and looking on YouTube and thinking about it for over 1 second and realizing there's no such thing as a finite pool of impressions. But regardless, I contacted my sister, who is an expert in impressions and marketing. She has worked in the industry for over 10 years. This is literally her specialty. She knows exactly how it works. She's worked for multiple Fortune 500 companies with the knowledge of this exact thing. So this is what she had to say. This is about impressions. It's less limited eyeballs than it is the limited attention spans and threshold for seeing the same kind of content over and over. It's not true. If anything, it's making the content being commented on more desirable. Commentary content is the 2022 version of old ladies gossiping in the town square. When something big or not worthy happens, in the past people would gather around the people that they want to hear their opinion on the subject on. Also, people love to hate things more than they love to love things, which is so amplified online. Scientifically, an impression is defined by the number of times a piece of content appears on the screen. There is no limit unless it's a piece of content that is deleted, then it is finite. She is using voice to text, cause damn. But as things live on the internet and it can be found again, you can still have impressions, and things often resurface years later also as the search words become trendy. For example, you could have written a blog post on what would happen if we were in a P word in 2012, and it would lay dormant for years, but then would surge in site traffic in 2020. There is no such thing as a finite pool of impressions.
Charlie argues that I should have expected the outcome that my script would be given to creators and a response would happen. I disagree that this was a reasonable expectation. Even in hindsight, I still don't think it would have been reasonable to expect.
No. You can't tell me that someone with 900,000 subscribers didn't expect some of his audience to go through this and see these streamers by name and then tell them about it. The same document to where you compare React streamers to racists. So yeah, you should have expected this. Even in hindsight, he is doubling down.
Although arguably many people were just going off a brief summary that I put near the actual link to the document, so maybe not many people read it actually. Content aggregation, by that I mean bringing all the good content to one place, is very profitable, and the service is appreciated by some viewers, even if it ultimately does exploit those who made the content in the first place.
You're saying this as if these React streamers are re-uploading original content to their channels. They're not some sort of MCN. Typically, it's always interrupted by commentary, and most of those people will want to go check it out for themselves. And if you did just watch the whole video with Pokimane on stream, and you weren't really interested, you weren't gonna go watch that video anyway. And if you were, you might want to go check out that channel to see what else they have to offer that might interest you. It's almost like this entire situation is extremely nuanced and not black and white and extremely simplistic as you want to make it seem. It's not just, oh, these creators are gone, all those impressions are going to smaller creators. Oh, 40,000 people already watched this video with Pokimane, they're not gonna go watch the other video now. They're not gonna go watch the original video now. It's not black and white like that. Your original argument can make a lot of sense, and fundamentally I actually agree with it. But all of the arguments based under it, the foundation of this entire argument is just made out of sand. There's nothing substantial there. You can make good arguments against lazy React content, but you made none of those, in my opinion.
As long as it is possible to make money this way, as long as there's a market for it, it will never truly die. Thus, I consider my script more like an old man just wanting people to understand the hellscape we find ourselves in, rather than let us pick up arms and throw the reactors on the fire. Charlie references my analogies and suggests they were not good. References to spiking people's drinks were good analogies.
Why are you doubling down on this? No, it's not.
But without the original context, I will grant that they may not have been as clear as they otherwise would have been. But even looking at them now, I still think they're quite clear. When the script was released, the most I heard from one person was that they could be taken in the wrong way.
You didn't hear that just from one person. You heard that from multiple people. You're pretending that this was just like one person taking one thing out of context and getting mad. It's a garbage analogy. It's not the same thing at all. And you are still doubling down on this awful, awful take.
I honestly didn't give them any thought, as they were but 2 lines on 14 pages.
Just because it wasn't a big part of your essay doesn't mean it was still a good thing to say. You're like, oh, it was just a little offhand comment, guys, like it wasn't that serious. Like, you could have just said, yeah, maybe I should have thought about that one more and moved on. But no, you've doubled down at least 3 times now that React streamers are the same type of people who would spike your drink. This is verbatim what you said. And then you come back here and say, I never said that React streamers were racist. So I don't know where you guys got that from. Like, that is such an absurd reach, guys. I don't know where you got that from.
How about no? It's almost like Charlie is making up and I don't understand why.
Where do you think? Like, if you had intentions with this document, clearly most of it didn't get across. I'm sure the intentions were good, but it doesn't matter if the intentions were good when your points were so poorly explained that people misunderstood them and didn't like them. Once again, maybe it's your fault that the document was poorly written and unclear. Intention is one thing, but impact is another, and you made a garbage impact.
Statements that imply, if they haven't said no yet, then I have consent, are terrible, as it would necessarily have to imply that other terrible acts are also justifiable, which is what those references show, and what I further try to clarify on Twitter. This does not—
I'm still failing to see why this makes any sense when you don't need consent. And you shouldn't need consent to exercise free speech and react to content that you disagree with or agree with. I am not an expert on fair use, but you are completely in the right to react to content and do so. And just because you don't agree with React content doesn't mean you should be comparing them to people who would spike your drink.
I mean, reactors are or anyone, or that React content is rape, but the idea of consent as being everything is okay until they say no is clearly bad and might lead a person to harm if they sincerely believe that was acceptable.
This argument only makes sense in a very small context of reaction content. If we had to ask for consent to everything that we reacted to, content creators that should be made aware are not good people, like Rice Gum and whatever Logan Paul did back in the day, should be made aware through the exercising of free speech. I'm allowed to comment on these things. I am allowed to critique, criticize, review, essayist, whatever on your terrible video.
No one could read that document and be like, Dark Viper is saying racists are reactors, and reactors rape people, and reaction content is rape. Nothing like that is in there.
Nothing like that is in there?
I do, however, take issue with your criticizing me for unfairly simplifying your content, and then you do the exact same thing to me.
That's arguable. I've seen Critical's video and he didn't oversimplify your content. He just said that you're not the beacon of good content in order to be criticizing other people.
But all he really does is commit to one thing, one area, and then rant. That's it. You're not some beacon of incredible creativity, man. You live in one single bubble, the rock star bosom that you continue to suckle on, and then still have the audacity to say shit like, I'm only a React streamer.
You make so many assumptions about what is good content, which is such a subjective point to which you present as the objective truth. He basically ends this by saying this.
Charlie was willing to say that he made some errors, and I hope I've communicated that I made some too. But please keep in mind, in terms of monthly views, Charlie is literally 20 times my size.
Am I supposed to feel bad for you because of that? Am I supposed to validate your points because you're the smaller creator? No.
At best, absent Charlie's response video, maybe 1,000 people would have read the script I wrote, and many would have disagreed with it.
They did. They did. You're acting like nobody read your document and you're just getting this criticism out of nowhere because some people took things out of context. They didn't. Many people read your document, actually. In the document right now, there's over 30 people in here reading it. This whole end of the video, you're just acting like the small underdog that's just getting dogpiled on. You're not, actually. You have almost 1 million subscribers. Put on some big boy pants and deal with it. Deal with your shortcomings. Deal with where you got stuff wrong, because everything that you said that you got wrong in this video didn't come across as that. It came across as a backhanded way of explaining why you said it in the first place. You're like, well, I said it like this, but I guess it came off like this. It's clear that you still believe all of the dog that you've spewed in this essay and haven't taken the time to really think about impact versus intention. Just because you spent so much time on this essay doesn't mean it's good, or that your points are good, or that any of it comes across as good points.
I would argue I had a gun, something you can justifiably respond to, but I don't think hitting me with a nuke, as he did, was his only option. There were better, perhaps equivalent ways to respond to my words. At the end of the day, I did bring it upon myself. I did release that unfinished script. While I did think it was the best decision at the time, obviously in hindsight, it clearly was not. Although I do not disagree with anything that I wrote. Of all the things I've said over the last couple of days, the only thing I really disagree with was the way that I presented Charlie. I do not agree that I presented his character fairly, and for that I am sorry.
So that's about it. I guess he does say sorry for the way he represented him, but I still think most 99% of his points are terrible. If you want to read the document yourself and form your own opinions, please do so. But this is my opinion. This whole video is my opinion and how I've seen things work, such as impressions and everything on YouTube so far. As a small creator who, so he says, would benefit from these larger creators not existing on the platform, I see a benefit to these large creators being here reacting to content like mine, giving my content a platform that it wouldn't have had before. So many eyeballs and people from other communities have come to mine because of other people reacting to my content. And I did have it happen one time where a streamer watched my content and didn't say anything, and that streamer was Sweet Anita. Everybody, it's female MoistCr1TiKaL. Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for! That's what it's all about! Woo!
It's a ball.
She watched my video on Female Critical and she was just kind of sitting there, not paying attention, watching YouTube videos in general. She did not steal video views away from me. She was technically rebroadcasting my content without adding anything to it, but chances are those people don't care. They wouldn't have come to my channel in the first place. They wouldn't have clicked on my thing in the first place. But every other time I've had my content reacted to, it's been a net positive. I've developed relationships with these content creators. Their people have come to my community just being wholesome and awesome. If you don't want people exercising free speech to content you put out there publicly for people to see, I don't know what to tell you. Keep it on your hard hard drive. That's just my opinion. That is my unhinged 14-page manifesto rant that I'm gonna die on this hill of everything being complete fact, even though they're just my opinions. And that's it. Please comment your opinions down below. You don't have to have agreed with everything that I said in this video, but I do hope you've listened to other perspectives as I have and come to your own conclusion about it. This is just my unique perspective as a small creator, and I completely disagree with what Dark Viper is saying here. This video is sponsored by my Patreon. Thank you so much to my patrons, Josh, Cormac, Reluctic, Lady Zord, and Nick. Thank you so much for subscribing to my Patreon, where you'll get behind the scenes content and you can become one of my special Discord simps. You get a special role in Discord if you subscribe. You can subscribe for as little as $1 singular US dollar. Thank you so much for supporting my content. It means a lot. I hope to react to more react content, stealing content. I can't wait to steal more content in the future, so please subscribe. Okay, bye.